Good afternoon, members of the Residents Association of the Forest of Duke. I was hoping for a full house today because of all the activities we have going on. And now I'm not sure what I should post on my Facebook account, whether me with a crown on my head or me with a sombrero. We'll take a vote later on, decide what it should do. Anyway, the first order of business is to silence your phone if you have one and it's turned on. And this basically is the agenda for the day. The first item is to approve the minutes from the June meeting. They've been distributed electronically. They're posted in the correspondence room, posted on the websites. So I make a motion they be unanimously accepted as submitted. All in favor? So be it. Would like to welcome a most pleased surprise guest here today. Chuck Kennedy, who's chair of the Forest of Duke Governing Board, has attended to increase the interaction between the Residents Board and the board. Chuck, thank you very much. Appreciate it. First order of business is we'll go through the executive report. I'll give the president's report, and then we'll go through the, I didn't want to do that yet. I'm sorry. Go through the election and then on to the committee reports and then the wrap up. So with that, let me turn the podium over to Anita for the executive report.
Good afternoon. Anyone who's worked with Jim knows when he tells you keep it short, keep it quick, we have stuff to do. So I've got 3 things to share with you. Some of you may know, and now I'm officially telling you that the doorway between the terraces and the health center will be open daily from 10 to 6. The city has not resolved its internecine war between departments, so it's not fixed yet, but we've come up with a solution so that we can meet the safety mandate for the health center and access for residents. And again, that's from 10 to 6 daily. Nathan asked me to share with you that there will be a soft opening of the bistro. Invitations are going out today. They're taking some select groups, one after another. And it'll be open at lunchtime this week, with next week expected to go to full service. So look in your box for an invitation. And if you didn't get one, don't feel bad. They're just trying to stage it so they make sure that when it's open for everybody, they're well staffed and ready to go. And of course, I just want to remind you, if you all show up at the same time, on the same day, you will wait, okay? And the last thing I have to share is, it doesn't make me happy, but certainly, and I'm sure it won't make you very happy, it is the issue around construction on the Basin Garden. We had an issue with the drain pipes and the drainage in that area, as well as the sand filter. We finally got approval, which we've been waiting for, I think, since the end of May, to go back in and widen the drain pipes and address the issue with the sand filter. That means that that area is going to be closed off for walking access. It's going to look like a demolition derby for a minute or two. They're going to put the pipes in, they'll put it back together, and then Rupert will come in and do the backfill of the plantings that we can do at that time. The expectation is that this work, which was supposed to start today, but they did us the great favor of showing up on Friday, and it will run till November 15th, and that's the expectation at this point. We'll keep you posted. It doesn't restrict access except to that basin area, but construction will be taking place, and there will be some equipment down there from 8 o'clock till 5 p.m., Monday through Friday. We tried to get it all done. This is where we are. Thank you.
Thank you much, Anita. Any event, this will be the last time that I'll be chairing a membership meeting here as president of the Residents Association. 2 years ago, in October of '23, when I was elected president, people sort of asked me, Jim, why would you take on the job? And I basically told them I was taking it on for insurance, because I wanted to ensure, with all the changes that were coming on, that the forest would continue to be the type of community that it was when I first joined it in 2014. Friendly, welcome, small, cordial, etc. At that time, if you recall, the new health center was just about to be open after some period time of construction, and it was followed by the construction of the new building, the terraces, shortly thereafter, which has now finally been just completed and opened. And in that construction, we knew that we would be increasing our membership by about 25%. Over 100 and some odd people add to the 400 that were already here. As you're aware, the opening of the health center was really kicking off a new concept in continuing care activities, where before the old center was set up with separate areas for nursing and continuing care. The new committee now, or the new building now, accommodates a complete range of care capabilities within the so-called small neighborhood. And it was expected that that would create some growing pains as we move to that new initiative, and things are flowing along quite nicely now with that new concept. And it was also aware, or obvious, I should say, that the bringing in of 100 and some odd people over a very short period of time would have a considerable impact on the facilities, how we existed, how we utilized things, how we enjoyed life. And at that time, when I took over, I sort of set 3 long-range goals in terms of how we would address the issues. The first one was to focus on communications and to increase the rate and accuracy of what was happening, and providing that information to you and your fellow residents. The second one was to provide help and assistance to the administration in terms of addressing what should be done, how should we handle the impact on transportation, on activities, on dining, and on other such activities. And the third was to basically ease the manner in which we could interact with each other. And I created what was called Name Tag Friday. Some of you sort of looked at me oddly when I did that, but the good news is I think it has been working. People are wearing their tags. It makes it easier to say hello to other people, and I consider it a success, especially when I look over the area here and the numbers who are wearing their tags, and I'm looking at, if anybody does not, I'll take it up with you later. In any event, I believe the board has been very successful in implementing all these 3 goals. As I said, the highlight reports have been written and summarized within 5 working days of the board meeting, which basically reviews the committee reports at that time. And it's been available on the RA website and now on Cubigo in a prime position. In terms of activities, it's obvious that we've been very intimate in terms of assisting and helping the administration in terms of bringing in the new residents and making them feel at home. And I must say kudos to Anita and her executive team for what I consider to be an extremely smooth transition. When you look at the magnitude of the construction, the magnitude of bringing in that number of people over about 8 to 10 weeks, that is not a small endeavor. and it's been assisted significantly by many of the contributors sitting here in this room in terms of mentoring, helping with the residents, setting up variety meet and greets and whatever. So as I say, I think all three aspects have been pretty well addressed, and we're in a great position for moving forward. There is still work to be done, and I'm pleased to report that we have a great ensemble ready to take over and continue address the needs of the organization. And with that, I'd like to turn the meeting over to Tom Small and his nominating committee.
Good afternoon. I'm Tom Small, and as chair of the governance committee for the last 5.5 years, I've appointed, with the board's approval, 8 chairs of the nominations and elections subcommittee. And chairing the nominations committee is not a very easy job. And I'd like to thank the 8 chairs: Ebby Steen, Abby Saffold, Linda McBride, Paul McBride, Elodie Bentley, Sanford Berg, Elizabeth Gillis, and Carol Carson. And thank you for the excellent job that you have done. I'd also like to thank the members of this year's committee, in addition to Carol Carson: Delana Bueller, Sandra Stein, Carolyn Cohn-Weaver, and Erwin Abrams. Although the task is difficult, the committees always seem to come up with some very impressive nominees, and this year is no exception. This year's nominees are, for president, Elizabeth Gillis, who has been chair of the activities committee; for vice president, Rose Mills, who has been heading up the mentoring program for the new residents; for the board of directors, Linda Carlson, and that's Linda with a Y rather than an I, who will be chairing the activities committee; Walton Smith, who will be chairing the governance committee; and Jeff Collins, who will continue as the head of the dining committee. There were no other nominations. You've seen their bios. You've met them at the social hour last Friday. So at this time, I would like to move that we elect the nominees to the position for which they have been nominated. And I'll make that motion. Is there a second? Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? No? Congratulations.
And now on to the treasurer's report. Andre Allen.
Hi. Let's see. I have 2 slides for you. Slate of candidate, okay. Let's see, it's going back. Oh, here it is. I got it. All right. So the first slide is the monthly financial statement, and let's see here. As of September the 30th, we have $14,899 in the bank, and for the past month here, we spent $79 on IT for maintenance of our resident association website, and $760 for the resident name tags that was paid to the forest. That was our share paid to the forest. Our next slide is a big one here. That's the proposed budget for this coming year, 25-26. So first I'll go over the revenue. You can hear me all right? Okay. Huh? Not when I turn my, okay. Like that is okay? Yeah. All right. So revenue, we get money from our membership dues, and this year with the opening of the terraces, we expect that we'll be coming up with $4,810. And the other source of revenue for us is our pictorial directory sales, and it's a fundraiser. And again, because we are having more residents this year, we expect that we'll be bringing in $6,975. So total revenue is expected to be $11,785. Then let me go over the expenses. For the first line, we have the Forester. As you know, it's gone digital, and we can actually save money now we expect that we'll spend $1,681 as opposed to $3,685. And that's because we'll be printing less copies. Then for administrative costs, we budget $250, but we actually haven't spent a thing because we use mostly emails to communicate, and that's the same with general services as well. We budget $100 for unexpected expenses. The big one here is the third one, the pictorial directory sales, and that is expected to cost us $1,900, a little bit more than this past year. Why? Because we have more pages, because we have more people. The next one, information technology. So we'll expect to spend about $900. And if you look over to the previous year budget proposal, that was $1,800. Well, we only spent less than half of it because we didn't upgrade as was planned. Then the resident name tags will go away because that was a one-time thing. Then we have the health committee. We expect to spend about $800 because we'll be printing some copies, some material for the health center. So you see that total expenses, it's hard to read here from this angle. Well, yeah, so I have astigmatism and it makes it hard. Oh, yeah. Total expenses, $5,881, which means that the next change is positive. We will be making $5,904, hopefully, right? And then, so this is it for the slides. Now I'll change back to this. So anyway, for the start of the next fiscal year, we are expected to have roughly $14,000 in the account. If we look at maintaining at least $5,000 balance, then our resident association could consider that we have $9,000 available for future projects. And I'll just close with a few words about future activities. November is going to be a busy month. I'll be working with Judy Vick on the 2026 pictorial directory sales, and I'll be managing the fall 26 Employee Appreciation Fund. Thank you.
And now we go to the standing committee reports. Your board and the committees have been very active representing you since the last June meeting. The board has basically had a meeting every single month, And the committees have, some of them had a month or so sabbatical in there, but have been very active as well. A significant amount of hours and work has been put in by the directors, their committee members, and their subcommittee members, so it's only appropriate that they do the reporting on what took place. The reports will take place alphabetically by the committees themselves, starting with activities under Elizabeth, going to caucus, dining, finance, general services, governance, health, information marketing, information technology, marketing, resident services, and then as a finale, we'll have a Norca report by Margaret Keller. Elizabeth?
I have graduated from the walker to the cane and soon nothing. So, the main purpose of the Activities Committee is to work with the staff of Community Life at the Forest at Duke to help plan monthly activities which are varied and interesting for us. Activities Committee has 6 subcommittees. Life at the Forest series, which takes place in the fall and in the spring, is designed to introduce new residents to the forest's fundamentals. So we're in the middle of that right now, and we've had a good turnout so far, and any of you, even though you're not necessarily new residents, are always welcome to any of those sessions. Forest Readers meets weekly on Wednesday afternoons. The readers are residents who present readings from articles, books, and their own original writings. Book Discussion Group meets monthly to discuss books that they have selected in June. They vote on the books they will read for the next session. Celebrations Committee plans events of all sorts, from happy to the serious. Mix and Mingle is more active since more new residents are moving in. So we will be having more activities for that group. Triangle Thinkers and Doers is a new lecture series about pertinent topics that will be held in the auditorium at 4 o'clock on the 3rd Monday of the month, several times a year, beginning in November. We're excited about that. Top items from the last few months. There have been many concerts over the last few months, such as Touch of Brass, String Quartet, Bach to the Beatles, Four Seasons concert, harpsichord concert in the Forest Room, and others. In addition, there have been many outings, such as a guided tour of the Tiger Rescue and Durham Athletic Park, and interesting lectures. Mix and Mingle hosted an event in August in Greenwoods with 16 new residents attending, and a small event in September called Pastries on the Porch. Sarah Haney gave a positive update on Cubigo. There has been a consistent increase in the number of people using Cubigo. Pam Taylor, Community Wellness Manager, arranged several presentations with Legacy Healthcare, such as Keeping Our Community in Motion. Activities Committee will continue programs that have proven to be popular and will introduce a variety of informative and stimulating programs that will enrich life at the Forest. Activity Committee wants to thank Community Life for their help and support in making the Forest at Duke a great place to live. Last but not least, I want to thank all the members of the Activities Committee for their interest, input, and ideas.
Good afternoon. I'm Sanford Berg. I'm chair of the Caucus Committee. The forest is divided into 21 caucuses. This includes the 4 new ones that are in the terraces. I'm looking forward to meeting the new leaders that will emerge over time there. Caucus leaders meet monthly, and we share issues, concerns, experiences with one another. Neighborhood caucus leaders are asked to hold at least 2 meetings a year at the neighborhood level. These often involve speakers on topics that are very pertinent to the topics, to the caucuses. Leaders also track the departures and the arrivals that involve new residents in the campus life, and they assist the mentors with that process. In June, we began a series of meetings of how we can help create community and improve communication. Caucuses are very diverse, as you can imagine. Different demographics, different health situations, different numbers, different geography. So we can't plan a uniform set of activities for each caucus. That's really up to the caucuses to determine for themselves. So based on the ideas of brainstorming that we began in June, I prepared a list of what different successful caucuses have been doing, and we'll be sharing that with the new caucus leaders in the terraces, as well as any new people from the previous caucuses. We had no membership meetings in July or August, but in September, Emma Quick, our community program manager, discussed the role of community life in supporting having a sense of belonging and deeper friendships within TFAD. The Gingerbread House competition at holiday season last year and trivia competition were 2 examples of the activities that they put on. And that really supports and supplements the kinds of activities that the activity committee devises. Additional activities are certainly being planned. Emma also described how community life is helping the new terrace residents meet each other and through mix and mingle type activities. We then brainstormed to come up with some other ideas that we hope are very effective. This last month, we heard from our local 2 social workers, Jennifer King and Carissa Campbell. They noted that gaining the trust of residents is a priority so that in any emergency situation, they're in a position to better offer options and help with communication. They're part of a team that assists in the transition to the health center. They also noted, and this was an eye-opener for me, that many social issues involved with Medicare Advantage, long-term health insurance, caregiver support, and these issues can be very complicated. And several of our caucuses have had our social workers come and speak to them. If they've not spoken to your caucus yet, talk to your caucus leader about inviting them. We also learned more about the services provided by this for us at home. So the committee looks forward to welcoming our new terrace leaders, and I want to acknowledge the help and support for all the current caucus leaders. It's been a very enjoyable year. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Jeff Collins, Chair of the Dining Services Committee. As Tom mentioned, I've just completed a 3-year term and have agreed to do a second 3-year term. So given the food theme of the committee, you could say I'm a glutton for punishment. But seriously, though, the mission of the Dining Services Committee is to function as a liaison between the residents and the administration to ensure the best possible dining experience for residents that covers the quality, the diversity, the healthiness of the food offerings, as well as the ambiance of the various dining venues. What I'm going to do today, although I know a page was distributed recently to all residents highlighting the features coming for the bistro and the reopening of Greenwoods. I know that some folks haven't read it, and in the case of folks who have moved into the terraces, some have not actually seen the form. So I think this is of such importance, and there's been such intensive interest in what's coming in terms of the bistro and Greenwoods that it's worth running through the key features of both venues very quickly. As Anita mentioned, a soft opening is taking place this week. I'm going to focus first on the bistro, and then I'll do Greenwoods. So a soft opening is taking place this week for a subset of residents, and it's really focused on members of the Dining Services Committee and members of the Resident Association Board. The idea is to work out any bugs before the full opening next week for all residents of the bistro. And the initial menu, even after the bistro opens next week, will be limited and will focus on core items for all 3 meals being served in the bistro, and then additional dishes will be added over the next 4 to 6 weeks as the operations stabilize. The hours in the bistro, breakfast will be served from 7:30 to 11, lunch from 11 to 5, and dinner from 5 to 8. And one of the important points worth noting that means that the bistro will not be closed at any times during the day, as opposed to the Heartwood, where there are certain hours where it's closed between meals. Sunday brunch will not be served in the bistro. Breakfast will be served like other days, and apparently something special, quote unquote, beyond the normal breakfast service will take place on Sundays. In terms of Sunday, the bistro will close at 2:30 in the afternoon, so there will not be dinner service in the bistro on Sundays. Down the line, depending on how things work out, extended Sunday hours will be considered at some time in the future, but there's no guarantee of that. Importantly, reservations are not needed in the bistro. Examples of typical offerings: breakfast, things like bacon, egg, and cheddar, croissants, everything bagels and lox, yogurt parfait with house granola, smoothies of the day. Lunch and dinner, there'll be hot sandwiches and paninis, cold sandwiches, prepared salads of various types, and seasonal entrees, a catch of the day, and a daily feature. And sides will include things like chips, fries, and a side salad. The bistro will have a grab-and-go cooler and a small market section that'll be stocked throughout the day. A signature soup will be served daily. That is this one particular soup. Initially, it's planned to be roasted red pepper and Gouda, and then there'll be a second soup offered that changes daily. So there'll be 2 soups, one standard one, and then one that rotates. Total seating in the bistro will be 46 people at any one time at tables that are set up for 2 or 4 people. These are heavy stone tables, so they're not movable, so you can't put tables together. And for the outdoor section of the bistro, seating capacity at any one time is 16 people. Menus for the bistro will be available both as hard copy and on Cubigo. And lastly, you'll check out, you'll pay for your what you get at the bistro from behind the counter. In terms of Greenwoods, a similar soft opening is taking place this week, and then it's opening for everybody next week. Greenwoods, again, as in the bistro, will begin with a limited menu with the aim of expanding it over the next 4 to 6 weeks as the operations stabilize. The hours for Greenwoods emphasize it will only be open for dinner, and that's from 5 to 8 o'clock, 4 days a week, Wednesday through Saturday. And it may expand to lunch service sometime next year after things stabilize. Again, no guarantee, but that's under consideration. Importantly, in Greenwoods, reservations will be required, just like in Rosewood, and you'll use the same procedures to make reservations in Greenwoods as you do for Rosewood. Greenwoods is going to offer a rotating 4-week dinner menu featuring seasonal ingredients and in a quiet table-served environment. So just like in Rosewood, this will be with weighted service at the table. It is expected that each night's offering will include 1 soup, 5 entrees, 4 sides, 2 salads, and 3 desserts. Importantly, charges in Greenwoods will be a la carte, so not fixed price like it is in Rosewood. You'll be charged based on what you order. And as in the case of the bistro, menus in Greenwood, menus for Greenwoods will be available both by hard copy and on Cubigo. So I hope this makes it as clear as possible what we know at the current time, but I think it's, we're all looking forward to both of these venues being available. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Joel Huber. A little more than a year ago, I became chair of the Resident Association Finance Committee. Then I came to understand the surprising complexity of financial accounting. The Forest at Duke is a nonprofit continuing care retirement community, CCRC, as Martha will, as you'll find out soon, regulated by the North Carolina's Department of Insurance. The discussions we had clarified 4 ways in which the forest gains from that status. First, its status benefits from a lower local tax on its land. Second, it enables the forest to fund expansions through low-cost municipal bonds. And third, it provides residents with valuable income tax deductions by prepaying insurance to cover later healthcare costs. Finally, the forest benefits, ironically, by the nature of its audited disclosure statements. These are available on Cubigo and on the public website of the North Carolina Department of Insurance. The financial and operational information serves to generate confidence in the credibility of the forest, confidence that is so important to banks, to those who invest in our bonds, to companies doing work for us, and of course to those considering becoming residents here. Thus, careful financial planning is crucial for our success. At the forest, our board of directors makes important financial decisions, while the residents' financial committee is tasked with communicating its logic of the decisions to the residents. Clear evidence of the effectiveness of these complementary processes is revealed in our history. Since the forest was opened in 1994, the board of directors and its executive teams charted many successful investments in growth and improvements. For example, in 2004, the forest renovated the community center, the big one here, and added new activities rooms. In 2015, it completed the Fountain View cottages, followed a year later with campus renovations enhancing fitness and dining. In 1923, as COVID was just closing down, the forest completed construction of 90 new health center units. Today, we celebrate the completion of the terrace apartments and the related rooms they've developed. These will serve the forest as our population grows from, say, 400 to 500 plus people. None of the advances that occurred in the past were financially easy, and they were often faced resistance from a number of residents. Today, we benefit from those past efforts and should be proud of the remarkable community that we belong to that adjusts, adapts, and thrives over time. Quite simply, the finance function managed by the board of directors and communicated through the Residents' Finance Committee has served us well in the past and can be expected to do in the future. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Dave Sloan, Chair of the General Services Committee. Our function is to maintain close liaison with TFAD's General Services Department to assure quality service in the areas of grounds and landscaping, buildings, housekeeping, and security and transportation. We meet monthly with Nathan Summers, Director of that department. We have subcommittees for Community Garden Beds, which is headed by Jay Williams, the Rose Garden, Sue Staples, the Wood Shop, me, other garden areas around campus, Robin Sloan, the greenhouse, which currently has no leader. Although we won't meet again until January, we've met 4 times since the June RA membership meeting. Each time we get updates from Nathan on general services issues and activities and address issues that have come up from residents. With the interest of the new terraces residents, we're happy to welcome a number of woodworkers, and that subcommittee is going to become active now. There's also still space in the greenhouse for them or for anybody else who wants to overwinter potted plants. I'm not going to go through all the details of our meetings, but the reports are posted in hard copy in a notebook in Connections and online on both Cubigo and the RA website. You can keep apprised by checking on one of those postings. Feel free to raise any issues you have with any member of the committee. Thank you.
Good afternoon again. I'm Tom Small, the outgoing chair of the Governance Committee. Governance Committee is responsible for all things governance. Since the last RA meeting, the Governance Committee recommended and the board approved a minor revision to the General Services Committee's duties and responsibilities to give the committee flexibility in adding and removing subcommittees. Also, since the last RA meeting, the Governance Committee lost one of its most valued members, Jack Hughes, who brought a wealth of experience, history, and common sense to the committee. We also lost a really good resident. Since this is my last RA meeting, I would like to thank my committee members, Ebby Steen, Bob Shaw, Elodie Bentley, Carol Carson, and George Bosworth for all their work in substantially revising the bylaws, rewriting all of the duties and responsibilities for all of the committees and officers, and for improving the nominations and elections procedures. Now, I think I've said this before, but of all the RA committees, governance is the least sexy. But it's a very important committee. So if bylaws, policies and procedures, duties and responsibilities, if that's your thing, governance is the place for you. And I would encourage you to contact the new governance chair, Walton Smith, who I'm sure will be glad to hear from you. And that's it from the world of governance.
Hello, I'm Dan Blazer. I'm the chair of the Health Committee. The Health Committee is really convened to advocate for the health needs of all Forest residents across all of the different facilities and services delivered by the Forest. But we focus 90% of our efforts on the health center. So I'll focus on that today. We meet monthly. We meet with Leanne Bailey-Clayton, who is the director of the health center. And I'll come back to sort of how we are trying to manage those meetings in just a moment. Currently, our census in the health center is 72. That was of a week ago. 8 in Medicare beds or temporary occupancy, and 6 in memory care. So this is about where we've been, maybe a little bit of an uptick of individuals, but we don't expect that to increase because the people coming into the Forest are very active and have been screened not to go to the health center if at all possible. So staffing continues to be a major focus in the health center, and we're having ongoing discussions about trying to increase permanent staff in addition to trying to improve continuity of staff-resident interactions in the health center. I think those have been good discussions so far, but there's still a lot to do. There are many external factors that are working against us to do that. Number one is that we're in a very, very competitive market for CNAs and nurses, and so we're always having to fight that particular headwind as we go along. We had a very good discussion at our last meeting about how we could coordinate and bring together some of the many different comments, compliments, and complaints that individuals have about the health center, and we get both, but we get about one a day. And so we get a lot of comments, and we're trying to find ways to organize and address those more systematically than we have up to now. Carol Carsons, who is here, has been a tremendous help in trying to bring some of those ideas together into categories that we can keep track of over time and see what the changes have been in those categories as time goes on, not only with individual items or issues, but also with the sort of the general category, sort of how well are we doing in dining, how well are we doing in staffing, et cetera. So I'm going to give you an example of two specific kind of issues that we're tracking, and one is a compliment, and one is a concern. So the first is a compliment. Katie Lewis has done a fantastic job of getting residents in the health center together for different art projects and other things. It's one of the most popular things going, I think, in the Forest overall, but it's certainly in the health center. It's right up there at the top. So I want to just give kudos to Katie for the excellent work that she's doing in this area. And if you want to go and take a look at what she's doing, by all means do that. An example of the kind of issues, and we get a myriad of issues as we go along, is that people have complained about the call buttons in the health center rooms, the fall house rooms. And we have pendants that the residents have with them, but they also have buttons that they can call. If they use their pendants, they're finding that that's a delayed time, often an unreasonable delayed time in their minds that needs to be somehow corrected. They get a little bit better response with the buttons in the rooms, but one of the problems, and this is just a systemic problem that was built in at the beginning and I think can be corrected, is that the buttons do not have any indicator that indicates whether the call has been recognized or not. Leanne recognizes that issue, and she's working on it right now to see if we can find some connections to that. So this is sort of a continuous quality improvement effort. We are advocates who are on the committee. We don't have administrative responsibilities at all, but we try to keep our eyes as much as possible on areas that need to be improved, and we're trying to increase our communication with administration, with Leanne, who we meet with regularly, and others in the health center to try to improve health care, because in some ways, this is one of the most important operations in the forest environment, given the fact that many of us, though we may not admit it, look forward to that issue.
My name is Charles Christian. I'm chair of the Information Technology Committee, and our basic job is to liaise between the Forest Information Technology Department and the residents' desires and wishes. In that, we meet monthly with Rashad Wilson, the head of the Information Technology Department, and try to keep as much up to date as we can. Basically, each of the technology of the forest, I lost my thing. The terraces apartments are slightly different communication. They're going to have fiber connections for internet and coaxial connections for cable TV with Spectrum. The internet will not be with Spectrum, but you'll have a very fast download speed. The fiber backbone is laid for the cottages, and we hope to have that fiber to every residence, hopefully by this time next year. When we went to the flipbook presentation for the Forester, we found that some of the residents have screens in their devices that are quite small and maybe not quite able to be able to read the Forester easily. So the Forest is going to put a large screen computer in the library which will access three things: the Forester without a password, and which you can more easily read that than on your own device if you would like. You'll also be able to access your Cubigo account and your resident association account if you have a password for those two sites. And that's the other thing, is we want to strongly encourage more residents to be able to get an account for the Cubigo and for the Resident Association website. Along those lines, we need help with our webmaster. Erwin Abrams is doing a fantastic job, but it's a large job, and we would like to find a couple of people to give him a hand. So if you have an interest in websites and maybe learning a little bit more about them, please contact Erwin, and he will be glad to hear from you. The tech along the lines of the Cubigo and accesses the Resident Association website, we're going to have a tech corner in the living room along with the TFAD sometime in November, hopefully November 13th, but in the afternoon. But look out for that, so we can, if you're having problems with Cubigo or the Resident Association website, please come by and talk to us. That's basically what we have been doing since our last association meeting. If you have any desires or concerns about the information technology services that you're receiving, don't hesitate to contact me or one of my committee. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Ellen Barrett, and I am chair of the Marketing Committee. I'm going to start with a little information about what I have received from the occupancy report that our committee receives every month from sales and marketing. Let me start with how many apartments we actually have. There are 233 apartments and cottages and independent living. 223 of those units are occupied, which is 96%. 6 units are reserved, which is 98%. 3 residences are currently being marketed through the wait list, so we're in very good shape. Now, in the terraces, we have only 2 remaining apartments that are being offered to charter members. 14 charter members have yet to receive a first offer, so the expectation is that these apartments will soon be taken. As of October 10th, 23 of the 71 apartments are physically occupied. By now, October 20th, I think probably another 14 units may have residents. So we are at a halfway point, which I find to be very exciting. And may it continue as it has. In March, I shared the framework of the welcome plan that the marketing, the marketing committee was developing specifically for the terrace residents. In June, I talked about some of the initiatives that we were working on. Today, I'm going to share some of our action plan. Remember that each floor of the terraces, oh dear, there goes a phone, or is it time? Remember that each floor has a floor team comprised of 3 members of the marketing committee. These teams have done a super job developing individualized programs for each of their floors. Let me just go through a couple of things. The Meet Your Neighbor booklet is in draft form. Participation from the terrace residents was a bit uneven, So to improve this, floor teams have been engaging with their terrace residents who did not submit information or pictures or little tidbits about themselves. And so that we'll have a final version of the Meet Your Neighbors booklet, hopefully to be completed in as good form as possible, but that will be made available through Cubigo, hopefully in early November. I'm looking at April. Floor Team 5 developed a booklet called Secrets of the Forest, which is now being distributed to all the new residents, both in independent living and the terraces as they move in. Each floor in the terraces will be a caucus, and the floor team captains will be temporary caucus leaders until someone from that floor takes on that responsibility. Don and Barbara Thornberry, who have moved here from Princeton, New Jersey, have already volunteered to be the 5th floor caucus leader. All the floor teams have organized either welcome lunches or welcome socials for their floors. Some have taken place, others are yet to be, and several have already set up caucus meetings, especially for floor 5 and floor 4. Now, an equally important part of welcoming all of our new residents and helping them mingle with existing residents is through the mentor program. Here are a couple of highlights. The 3 mentor training sessions for both existing independent living mentors and terrace mentors were held during the summer months. Rose Mills, our program chair, sent out spreadsheets to the mentors in late August. One was a list by apartment number of all the new terrace residents, their emails, their mentors, and their move-in dates. All residents in the terraces do have a mentor, and most mentors have made at least an initial contact with their mentees, and some have done quite a bit more. The marketing committee, as you can tell, has been very busy this summer, even though we never met. We didn't think we needed to. We were just doing so much on the side. So we continue, however, to support sales and marketing's bi-monthly tours for non-waitlisted people by being the caboose for tours. That means the end, picking up, making sure everybody gets out of the place when they're supposed to. This year, there have been 23 group tours with 465 attendees so far. It's an amazing display of interest in CCRCs that is being provided to these people. We've also welcomed about 20 new residents into the existing independent living section of the forest. So I want to thank you for your continued interest and support, especially all the mentors that popped up and are participating now, not to mention the committee, the floor teams, the floor team captains, who've done a fabulous job. I'm very lucky to be working with such an enthusiastic committee and sales and marketing staff. Thank you.
I'm Cindy Deal, representative. Unfortunately, Cindy wasn't feeling well today and could not make the meeting. So I'm going to give you a very brief overview of the resident services. And they really provide you with facilities around here that you take for granted and probably do not realize that they would not be there without the hours of volunteer services in order to run it and make it happen. The Encore store, for example, has continued to have several very successful sales out of vacating apartments, in spite of the fact that the storage room downstairs has not been available because of the ongoing construction. In addition, the gift shop is always available 3 days a week, offering up a variety of new and exciting offerings. The mentoring program. Major changes in the program to accommodate the new residents moving in which residents from the old building were assigned to be mentors for residents in the new building, so everybody had a mentor, and a special program was set up to educate them and facilitate them in moving on to be very good mentors to their mentees. The pictorial directory, which you see is a major source of support revenue for the organization, is just kicking off. New pictures will be taken of the new residents, and those of you who have gotten prettier and more attractive over the past few years are encouraged to get new pictures taken as well, and the publication will probably come out in the early 2026 timeframe. And comments were made on the Forester having gone electronic, and because there obviously are some issues both with familiarity with electronics and just slight issues, the large-scale computer or large-screen computer will be placed in the library in order to allow people to access that and get the information needed. And it was coordinated with, of course, the library, which you probably take for granted, but would not be in existence without the people running it. And we have obviously a new librarian who's just taken over with a seamless transition from the past. And now, Norcra.
I'll try to be as quick as possible because I'm the last thing on the list, okay? If you're a newcomer to the Forest, I should take just a minute to explain that the acronym NORCRA, which stands for the North Carolina Continuing Care Residents Association, represents more than 3,500 resident members across the state of North Carolina from more than 40 CCRCs in the state. Can you hear me okay? Okay, good. The goal of NORCRA is to advocate for residents and CCRCs in matters of legislative and regulatory matters, and also to share best practices among the CCRCs. Currently, I serve as the representative from the Forest to NORCRA, and I'm happy to have some good news for you today. After 6.5 years of very time-consuming work by representatives from NORCRA, from Leading Age, which is the organization of CCRC administrators, of which Anita is a member, and of the Department of Insurance, House Bill 357 was passed by the General Assembly unanimously in June. Finally. It is a 56-page bill, and it will be replacing the original statute, which was passed in 1989 when the state first became an insurer, so to speak, of the CCRCs in the state. It's regarded by professionals in the field as probably the strongest and most complete protection for CCRC residents in any state. The 20 representatives who worked on this were clearly strengthened in their work by their decision to use a portion of your dues to hire the lobbying firm Alex Miller Governmental Affairs, but also by the large number of CCR residents like you who are members of NORCRA and gave our work an enormous push representing that many people. As soon as I received a brief summary of this bill, I have not read the 57 pages, I provided that summary to the 3 residents who serve on the Forest at Duke board, feeling that they would be interested in what had been happening. We now have a much more complete summary of the bill, and I have put it in the NORCRA notebook in the connections room, where if you have any interest, you can flip through to see what some of the things are that are included in this bill. But it might be interesting for me just to mention 2 items, which you will already have observed in some ways. Okay, financial statements from the administration of all CCRCs must now be available to us on a quarterly basis, and of course that applies to any CCRC in the state. And also at least one independent member of the Forest Board, meaning not a resident member and not a member who has any connection with a staff member or a resident or anybody else at the CCRC, must be present at our semi-annual meetings when the administration gives us our reports. And if you were at the last one of those meetings, you observed that there were either 3 or 4 independent board members present for that meeting. Later this week, you're going to be receiving in your boxes a registration form for joining NORCRA, unless you are already a life member. The Forest makes this process very easy for us. All you have to do is fill out the registration form and put it on the basket, which will be on the main desk there at the entrance. And then your membership fees will automatically be put on your next monthly bill, and all of your registration information will be sent to NORCRA. So you'll be counted as a member. You'll be getting the quarterly issues of the Hotline, which is the publication of NORCRA. And I urge all of you who are not life members, please, to go ahead and register and become members. Finally, at the recent member meeting of NORCRA, which was at Crowsdale on this past Tuesday, I was aware of the fact that almost all the CCRCs in North Carolina actually have a small committee working for NORCRA on the small projects that we do during the year. And if any of you would be interested in joining me as a member of that small committee, I would just be delighted to have you do that. And you could speak to me after the meeting today or anytime that's convenient with you. Thank you very much, Jim.
That basically concludes the meeting. There are a couple of small items I'd like to take care of first. Number one, I'd like to thank all the members of the current board for their help and assistance in moving this association forward. And I'd like to thank those of you who have been in the past 2 years helping me as well, and have been replaced with the current board, because I could not have done it without you. And I think especially the numbers of people who have served on the committees and the subcommittees as either chairs of the subcommittees or just as participants have been a vital part of this overall organization. So I say thank you very much. It's been a pleasure representing you. With that, I'd like to give Elizabeth a chance to say her words to the group here.
I don't really have anything prepared, so I just wanted to say I want to thank Jim for his leadership over the last 2 years, and it's been a pleasure to work with you. Thank you. And for everybody who will be retiring from the board, thank all of you as well. Mike Bracy, you've done an outstanding job. Thank you very much. And I will continue to hold brief meetings, which I say thank you to Jim for making us behave and not talk too long. So, and Margaret is right, join NORCRA. It's very, very, very important organization for all of us who live here. So that's it. I have nothing more to say. And wait, I want to say I want to just say too, Anita, thank you for all that you have done for us over all the years that you have been here. And go Northeastern.
And then, just to add some gossip to the association's departure, I'd like to introduce Anita for some final words.
First of all, Jim, I'd like to say thank you. I've appreciated your leadership of the Resident Association Board. You have certainly been a good partner. You've got a lot of things that we accomplished. And I never told you this, but you do remind me of my youngest brother. His favorite game is Poke the Bear. That has led to some very spirited conversations, but you know, just like younger brothers, at the end of the day, we're friends and almost family. Thank you. And Ms. Gillis, you are inheriting a really good board. Great people to work with, great commitment, and a willingness to partner with our leadership team in ways that don't always happen in community. And so again, I'm wishing you the best. And Margaret, thank you so much for being a part of NORCRA, which has really been an active voice and a group that has really helped advocate not only on behalf of residents, but has also contributed to making our industry and our legislation better. So thank you. And I have an announcement. Everybody break out your scorecards. You've all heard the rumors, and if Larry Inderbitson is here, I'm sorry. Yes, I did lie to you on Friday, Larry. I want to tell you that I have made a decision that I am going to retire in the spring of 2026. Yeah, I had to think for a minute. I had told the board about this about a year ago. They have had an opportunity to engage an executive search firm. They're going to do that. That activity actually kicks off after this announcement. For those of you who are not here, or those of you who didn't get to watch it, if we're live streaming, then there will be a notice in the box explaining that. I'm not going for a while, so let's not make it all about goodbye. There's lots of stuff to do, and it continues to be my great pleasure to be here. And like I said, after Christmas, we can talk goodbye, but we don't need to do that now. I just wanted you to know, and thank you very much.
I think you've got more than enough information to absorb. With that, I would like a motion that the meeting be adjourned. A second. All and approved, raise your hand. So be it. Have a good day.